Welcome, everyone. If you would join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll begin our meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome. Nice to see so many people here. Tonight, we're pleased to recognize numerous outstanding students and employees. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. contest winners, PNEA scholarship recipients, 3 students with a perfect ACT score, Missouri Scholars Academy, Missouri Scholars 100, Green Schools Quest Project Award, Early College Partnership graduates, and St. Louis Community College Sports Marketing Scholarship recipients. First, I would like to welcome Moira McCracken, the PNEA president, to introduce the winners of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. contest and the PNEA scholarship recipients.
Good evening, Dr. Schneider, Mr. Todd, Mrs. Hopper, the rest of our distinguished Board of Education. As president of Parkway National Education Association, I appreciate the opportunity to come and share some exciting accomplishments of our students and our staff with you this evening. For many years, the Missouri National Education Association held a yearly art and writing competition to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. Now, they decided not to run the competition this year, but we in Parkway NEA did not want our students to miss out on this opportunity, so we decided to run it ourselves. We had 107 entries from our amazing staff, our students in Parkway, and they were all judged by a panel of PNEA members. The work was fantastic, and I am really pleased to announce the winners here. So students, when your name is called, please come up and shake the hands of Dr. Schneider and the Board of Education. We're going to see if I can do this. Nope, other direction. It's the big button. You'd think you would know, but it's... Here we go. In the kindergarten through 2nd grade category, first place we have Aya Hansen from Mason Ridge. In 2nd place, we have Sharia Gupta from Shenandoah Valley. And also from Shenandoah Valley, in 3rd place, we have Kushagra Mena. In our 3rd through 5th grade category, our winners are in 1st place, Shrita Shrees from Shenandoah Valley. 2nd place, Yusra Javed from Mason Ridge. And in 3rd place, Laya Bondel from Henry. Moving to our 6th through 8th grade category, we had a sweep from South Middle, which was impressive. In 1st place, we have Amelia Politis. In 2nd place, Evie Merrill. And in 3rd place, Camille Rana. And then in our 9th through 12th grade category, we had a sweep from West High. So in 1st place is Sam Ryder. In 2nd place, Emily Wong. And in 3rd place, Anirudh Venkataraman. Congratulations to all of our very, very talented students. Next, I would like to recognize the winners of the 2026 PNEA scholarships and grants. Parkway NEA really loves to support students, especially those who plan to enter the field of education. This year, we have awarded $5,000 to support such students. For these students present, when your name is called, please come shake the hands. We have Faye Toledo Arisa from North High. Savannah Davis from North High. Ava Moretti from South High. And Ella Marcinkowitz from West High. And then I also wanted to point out, we gave the Jean Olson Memorial Scholarship, which actually goes to the child or dependent of a PNEA member who is in school to become an educator. And in this case, this person was actually a 2024 graduate of West High. His name is Tyler Lang. He's he's a child of PNEA member Marnie Letman, and he attends the University of South Carolina upstate, so he couldn't make it home for this. He's a little busy. Finally, I just wanted to say that PNEA works hard to support our members, and one of our most notable ways is through our scholarship and grant program. This year, we gave our members over $10,000 to support them in their classrooms. On the screen, you'll see our member recipients. Some of the various projects that we are supporting include classes for professional development, national board certification, and graduate courses, as well as classroom projects like increasing book offerings, purchasing classroom equipment, and ensuring creative opportunities for student learning. Congratulations to all of our recipients, and good luck to you in your future.
Next, please welcome Dr. Kevin Beckner, our Assistant Superintendent of Teaching, Learning, and Accountability.
Well, thank you, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, Dr. Schneider, Ms. Stover, members of the board. Tonight, I'm pleased to share that we're recognizing 3 Parkway students who earned a perfect score on their ACT, earning a 36, the highest possible score. Nationally, fewer than 1% of students achieved this honor. In 2005, fewer than 3,000 students did out of almost 1.4 million students who took it, or about only 2 students out of every 1,000. The ACT consists of tests in English, mathematics, reading, and science, each scored on a scale of 1 to 36, and a student's composite is the average of those 4 scores. The ACT is a curriculum-based achievement exam that measures what students have learned in school, and students who earn a 36 have likely mastered all the skills and knowledge that they need to be successful in first-year college courses. ACT is accepted by all major 4-year colleges and universities across the U.S., and students, please come forward as we call your name. From Central High, please welcome Henna Lee. And from West High, please join me in congratulating Nicholas Hillman and Zachary Jung. And I have the next recognition too, which is for the Missouri Scholars Academy. The Missouri Scholars Academy is a 3-week academic program for 330 of Missouri's gifted students ready to begin their junior year of high school. The Academy is a residential program that takes place at the University of Missouri-Columbia, and students are selected via their GPAs, standardized test scores, IQs, recommendations, and formal essays. Here in Park, we have those 330. We are fortunate to have 11 students who have been selected to participate in the Missouri Scholars Academy this summer. Students, please come forward as I call your name. From Central High, Elise Lubitro and Pranav Malparit. From North High, please join me in congratulating Ethan Heckenberg and Stavia Sharma. From South High, we congratulate Anna MD and Caitlin Powers. And from West High, we congratulate Ian Chung, Colin Jackson, and Lincoln Moose. In addition to these wonderful students, we're also recognizing students who have made the list of the Missouri Scholars 100. This list is a statewide program that honors 100 of Missouri's top academic students in the graduating class. Students across Missouri nominate candidates for this statewide recognition, and the selection is based primarily on a formula using students' GPA, ACT, or SAT score. Each student is nominated and has to meet the criteria of an economic decathlon, which consists of 10 events designed to ensure the academic strength of the student. To meet the decathlon requirements, the student must have a minimum GPA of 3.75, a minimum ACT score of 29, or a minimum SAT score of 1900. They also have to be ranked in the upper 10% of their class and have taken upper level courses in mathematics, science, English, and world languages. The student must also have excellent attendance, be an exemplary citizen, and be involved in the school activity program. Please come forward, students, as your name is called. From Central High, Serena Huang and Aiden Moon. From North High, Nora Huntebricker and Yo-Yo Umanu. From South High, Magana Habar and Catherine Nozaki. And from West High, Anish Jindal and Nicole Paquette.
Next, please welcome Lindsay Elliott, Sustainability and Energy Coordinator, to introduce us to the winners of the Judges' Choice Award for their Green Schools Quest project.
Good evening. Thank you, President Todd. Tonight, we recognize Claymont Elementary's Green Team students and their sustainability leader, April Anderson, for their impactful work this year. Ms. Anderson, would you please join us? Nine students worked together with Ms. Anderson to care for water through conservation and waste reduction, which impacted their entire school and even all Parkway Elementary schools. Claymont Green Team students, if you're here tonight, when I call your name, please come forward and stand with us up here at the podium. Benjamin Dino. Noah Deebway. Leah Goudianis. Leela Herpel. Adam Jordan. Nick Jordan. Akshara Rothor. Eloise Rozicki. And Jocelyn Souder. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Deborah Rogers Curtis, the Green Schools Coordinator for the Missouri Gateway Green Building Council and co-manager of Show Me Green Schools, to present their award tonight.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight to present this exciting award to Claymont Elementary students and Ms. Anderson. Since 2013, 266 schools have competed in the Green Schools Quest all across the state of Missouri and the region of Southern Illinois. Over 700 school sustainability projects have been submitted to a panel of judges, and this year 83 schools took on a project. Claymont Elementary was one of them and one of the best. This was Claymont's 7th year competing in the Quest, and they took on an amazing project to produce their own healthy food for their cafeteria and reduce plastics across their dining practices. Their project inspired the rest of the district to reduce their plastic use and has made an important impact not just on their school, but on the district as a whole, saving the district money, yay, and helping the planet in the process. The judges panel reviewed all 83 projects with careful consideration, and they were so inspired by Claymont's efforts and impact. They were especially excited that the students were the true leaders of this project and that Ms. Anderson created a space for them to shine. We also want to recognize Parkway's consistent sustainability initiatives and the unwavering support of Lindsay Elliott, who mentors each of the participating Parkway schools. We are so thrilled to recognize Claymont Elementary as this year's Judge's Choice winner of the Green Schools Quest. We have a very strange, one-of-a-kind trophy to present. Ooh, This trophy was designed by a local artist at Third Degree Glass Factory and hand blown. It took over 36 hours to create, and there's not one single trophy in the world like it. So congratulations to Claymont. We also have certificates for our students and a check for the school. Yes, money. Congratulations to Claymont Elementary and congratulations to Parkway. Thank you for your support.
I want to thank Ms. Deborah Rogers Curtis for joining us tonight, and a heartfelt congratulations to our students and to Ms. Anderson. Thank you.
Next, please welcome Lindsay Perkins, Director of Choice Programs, to introduce us to the Parkway Early College Partnership Program.
Thank you. President Todd, Vice President Hopper, Dr. Schneider, Ms. Stover, members of the board, it's good to see you. I am here to tell you a little bit about the work. I'm going to raise this just a little bit. There we go. Of our early college students in our early college partnership. It's a full immersion early entrance program to St. Louis Community College at all of their campuses at this point. We've expanded beyond Wildwood and St. Louis Community Colleges, and we have students at every location this year, which I'm excited to share. Students attend early college for 2 years, replacing their junior and senior year of high school. While in ECP, students follow a curriculum that includes college-level coursework with St. Louis Community College instructors, and upon successful completion, these students earn not only a high school diploma, but an associate's degree by the time they leave our doors, which is an exceptional accomplishment. These early college partnership students have worked very hard over the last 2 years, excelling in that challenging college environment. They've balanced rigorous coursework while continued participation in high school activities, sports, clubs, and kind of living in both places at once, which is so impressive. These individuals are exemplary representatives of our district, and we're incredibly proud of their accomplishments and to celebrate them this evening. So without further ado, we're going to start with our Central High students this evening. We have Owen Martin, Sydney Moss, Natalie Kudemy, Akayla Rush, and Brooke Steeples. At North High, we have Alyssa Bavon and Tanaya Taylor. For our South High students, we have Maddie Ahern, Sharif Gunimat, and Zoe Rich. And West High, Faith Cohey and Isis Montague. We're very proud of your accomplishments and congratulations. We are going to transition into the St. Louis Community College Sports Marketing Scholarship, and I would like to welcome Chris Fletcher, their Director of Recruitment and Outreach at St. Louis Community College, to join me. Welcome. Okay. One of our sports marketing partners is St. Louis Community College, and they award seniors a $1,000 scholarship to attend St. Louis Community College. This scholarship is a testament to their hard work, academic excellence, and commitment to education. This year, we have 5 students receiving this scholarship that we are pleased to celebrate. We're going to start with Central High, and that's Kaylee Lomax. Fern Ridge, Alana Belu. North High, Isaias Almonte. Also North High, Paula Diaz Zambrano. And South High, Scout Creech. Congratulations to all of our students.
Congratulations once again to all of our amazing students and parents and family members. Thank you so much for being here to help us celebrate them. Right now, we'll take a brief recess and we'll resume the meeting shortly. We are going to resume our meeting here. All right. So gavel. Okay. We're going to resume here, and next up on the agenda is additions, corrections, and/or modifications. Those include the following: 7.01, addendum to agenda item 11.09, approval of personnel items; 7.02, addition of agenda item 11.32, approval of purchase of Central High School orchestra instruments; 7.03, addition of agenda item 11.33, approval of gifts from the public, nutrition services; 7.04, addition of agenda item 11.34, approval of gifts from the public, green trails; 7.05, addition of agenda item 11.35, approval of gifts from the public, Southwest Middle; and 7.06, addendum to agenda item 11.29, approval of yellow folder renewal. Next up is our public comment period. It's during this time that we provide an opportunity for citizen comments in an effort to maintain an open and respectful dialogue with our community. The public comment session is not the appropriate forum for addressing individually identifiable student and/or personnel matters. Therefore, due to privacy laws protecting students and employees, comments about these matters should not include personally identifiable information about particular students or employees. Members of the public, staff, and students are encouraged to utilize established policies and procedures for offering suggestions or addressing concerns, complaints, or accolades prior to bringing the issue before the board. Please be mindful that the meetings of the board, including your statements at the podium, are broadcast and that you are responsible for any public comment you make. In lieu of a public statement, you may choose to submit your comments to the board in writing. These statements may be submitted to the board secretary, who will distribute them to the full board, or you may contact individual board members. Also, due to time constraint and the need to complete the primary responsibility of our meeting agenda, we cannot respond to your public comments during the meeting, so you will receive a response from us in writing. We're always available to have an open dialogue outside of our meetings and can be reached by email or phone using the contact information on the Parkway website. Each speaker will be limited tonight to 3 minutes at the podium. Should you not have enough time to speak, you may submit your written comments to the board secretary. And in fairness to our speakers and to keep our meeting running as efficiently as possible, I will ask the audience to refrain from applause after each individual speaker. Tonight, I believe we have 3 speakers, and I will call you up in order that you signed up, beginning with Becky Edwards. And as Ms. Edwards comes to the podium, please reintroduce yourself and share with us your affiliation or relationship to the district. And
Hi, I'm Becky Edwards. I have a 4th grader at Craig Elementary. For years, Northside parents have tried to shine a light on inequities in Parkway schools. As I said, my child's a 4th grader at Craig Elementary, where those disparities are impossible to ignore. Our school is among the most populous elementary school in the smallest footprint building. Teachers educate in closets and hallways. We're chronically understaffed, especially in support services. The teacher turnover rate should embarrass you. Our kids have gone the entire year without playgrounds. Two recent events are what broke us, though. We weren't told for 7 days that our longtime principal was no longer our principal. When our community conversations for the North area was canceled for weather, we were told you weren't going to reschedule until we demanded it, and now it's not happening until after the school year ends. Turn after turn, the message feels clear: Northside families don't matter to Parkway. And I believe that's because we have twice as many Black and brown students as any other area of the district. Don't be mistaken. Those of us in the North area love our diversity. For most of us, it's why we chose this area. And we shouldn't have to move our kids to other schools in the same district to receive the same quality education. And I'm not here to say that you want to harm Black and brown children. I'm sure you want the best for all students. But systemic racism doesn't require malicious intent. It runs on autopilot through policies and resource allocation. I know you're dealing with massive budget constraints, but that is what makes it even more critical to allocate resources equitably. Parkway claims equity is a value, but your budget shows otherwise, your staffing shows otherwise, your communication shows otherwise. Equity means giving schools what they need based on their unique challenges. Our students need more, not the same. Parkway trades on its reputation as a premier district in this region. So it is a deep disappointment to see firsthand that that premier does not extend to the Black and brown people in the North Side. James Baldwin said, "I can't believe what you say because I see what you do." My child deserves better, but even more important, our Black and brown students, disabled students, immigrant and ESL students, and our exhausted teachers and staff deserve better. It's time for this board to decide, is your commitment to equity real or just a word on your website? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Abigail Finney.
Good evening, Dr. Schneider, members of the board. My name's Abigail Finney. I'm proud to say I'm a parent of 3 boys in the North Region of Parkway School District. In addition, I'm a teacher in a neighboring school district. I'm a firm supporter of public school. However, over the last 3 years, I've seen some inequities within the north side of the Parkway School District. First, I'd like to reiterate how proud I am to have my kids attend Craig. My oldest child, William, has a neurological syndrome and requires heavy SSD services. However, despite having many differences in how my son talks, thinks, and behaves, my child was and felt so included at Craig. Students and staff at Craig even did a book study on Out of My Mind that included in-depth discussions regarding disability rights and AAC devices. I say all this because the community is what I am so proud of. The people are amazing. We as a community step up for one another, and selfishly, my child has reaped the rewards of being educated in such an accepting, diverse, inclusive environment. But unfortunately, Craig's resources are limiting our students' abilities to successfully learn. The school went over projected amounts of students this year by a lot. Students are learning in halls and any spaces available. SSD classroom sizes were large because Parkway facilities made it difficult to add another SSD classroom. Even though Craig is going through construction to be a better facility, overcrowding issues won't be fixed once construction is done. In addition to this, our staff is overwhelmed. The turnover rate is high and some teachers have just moved to other schools within the district. Our students needing reading intervention outweighs the staff, so some students' needs just aren't met. Lastly, Craig has the highest number of students in transition than any other elementary school in Parkway, which I want to be clear, it is not a negative thing. Our community is fabulous and we take these families in and give what we can. We work together to help, but ultimately, transition students need additional supports. These supports have been asked for, but from my understanding have not come. So yet again this year, we're losing our amazing teachers because they can no longer struggle. Also, let me be clear, Craig data shows growth amongst its kids from fall to spring. So these teachers are doing amazing things with the time they are giving, and the results show it. But these teachers are burning out, doing so much with so few resources. These struggles aren't just at Craig, they continue to Northeast Middle, where staffing doesn't match the number of interventions needed, and to North High, where not all enrichment or AP classes are offered, thus creating a lower bar for our northern students. Like I said, I love the north side of Parkway, but I'm tired of seeing neighbors move, parents worry, or students getting special assignments to other schools in Parkway to ensure they get the best. There clearly are issues. I want to work together with Parkway to make change. Parkway, we have asked all year, but things have been slow to happen, if they happen at all. Please show us the data, compare the schools and resources, and have collaborative meetings with parents and staff that show results. There is negativity out there, and this is causing significant damage to our community and to Parkway. There needs to be a strong collaboration so that it is truly a great day to be in Parkway.
Thank you. Next up is Beth Allen.
Hello. Okay, bet you can guess what I'm going to talk about. My name's Beth Allen, and I am also a parent of a student at Craig Elementary, a 4th grader, as well as a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm speaking tonight because what is happening in Parkway North is not isolated, and it is not a new issue. For years, families, teachers, staff, and administration have been raising concerns about overcrowding, inequitable access to resources and support, staffing instability, communication failures, burnout, and feeling unheard. Too often, those concerns have been minimized or silenced until they've become impossible to ignore publicly, which is how we ended up here tonight. I make data-driven decisions every single day, and the data tells a clear story. Parkway North serves the highest concentration of free and reduced lunch students in the district. We have some of the highest percentages of English learners. Some of our schools are among the most diverse in the district and in the state for that matter. Several North schools are navigating significantly greater student needs, including, as Abby mentioned, students in transition at a disproportionate rate to the rest of the Parkway district, and we are not receiving the resources to support that disproportionate amount of students. This is not a criticism of our families, of our students, or of our community. That diversity is an asset, and like has already been said, why some of us live there. When schools with the highest needs also carry the highest instability, that's not a coincidence. That's a systemic problem that needs to be solved. Our students deserve to learn in schools that are fully equipped, fully staffed, fully supported, and fully invested in, not schools that are constantly in survival mode while families are fighting to be heard and staff is overworked and burnt out. We need leadership. We need strong leadership from you all, from the board, from the superintendent's office. We need transparency, and we need resources allocated intentionally and equitably. Last week, I had the pleasure to meet with Dr. Schneider. I appreciate your willingness to listen to our concerns. I do believe that she wants to better understand the issues in North. And I do realize that a lot of us have had a lot to say and been a lot, but this has been a breaking point for us, and something needs to change. We need to see action. We need to have measurable accountability with the board. We need transparency and concrete plans, and we need visible progress for our kids. Families should not have to become investigators, data analysts, and activists just to get basic accountability from their district. This community is paying attention, and we are not going away. Parents are organizing, families are speaking up, teachers and staff are sharing their experiences, and we will continue showing up, continue advocating for our kids, and continue demanding better until real progress and meaningful change happen in our schools in the North District. We love our schools. We love Parkway. We love these kids, and they deserve leadership from you all to have the best education they possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is agenda item 9.0. That's approval of tonight's agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education as scheduled for May 13th, 2026?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next regular board meeting will take place on Wednesday, June 10th, beginning at 7 p.m. here at the Parkway Welcome Center. Next up is board and superintendent reports. Matt, you want to start us off?
For a school board member, there are ups and downs, but I'd say one of the biggest ups is the graduation time. Seeing the students walk across the stage, and honestly, I think the parents are more fun to watch than the kids are, some ways, at graduation. So looking forward to our graduation week coming up.
First, I just want to thank our speakers tonight. We appreciate you coming, and we are listening. Over the past month, it's been busy. For many of us, we went to the art show. I was just talking to John a little earlier. It amazes me every time I go to that district art show, the creativity and the artistic ability of all of our students. I went and saw my students' artwork and just walked around for about an hour. It truly was amazing. I did attend the community conversation at Parkway Central. About 150-ish people came. It was a great conversation, and went around listening to what people were saying about the state of Parkway. We also recently had Teacher Appreciation Week. As we all know, we love our teachers. They work tirelessly for our students. I know my kids love their teachers, and it was a great time to really show our teachers how great they are. And as Matt pointed out, it is graduation season, and the last board meeting before the end of the year. It's coming down to the wire, but it's been a good year, and so wish everybody a good end of the year.
Yeah, and I would just parrot what Jeff said on the art show. We also attended, and it is amazing to see all the talent in the district. I cannot draw or do anything artistic, so to see what those kids can do is truly amazing. We also had all of us here, except maybe one, had a board workshop on the 25th, which was, I thought, very productive. Worked through a lot of different topics on that. And then also this week, earlier this week, was the Granting Dreams ceremony that is sponsored by the Parkway Alumni Association. My oldest received a grant, and so just a shout out to the Alumni Association and that program. Really, they've been doing it for years, giving money to kids to pursue their interests. And something else I went to wasn't a Parkway event, but involved Parkway educators. So on the 24th, the St. Louis Symphony did a concert. It was called the Extra Credit Concert, where essentially the professional players partnered up with the music teachers from all over the state, actually some from Arkansas as well. And I was proud to see that 5 of our own music educators were part of that concert, and it was a wonderful concert. So just a shout out to them for their participation.
So first I wanted to say, to echo what Jeff said, last week was Teachers Appreciation Week, and I just want to express my appreciation for our Parkway teachers, especially the ones that have my children. Our teachers pour so much love and care and dedication into all of them, and I really do appreciate everything that they do. It has been a busy month since our last meeting. On the 23rd, I attended North High's honor ceremony. That was a really nice evening. I've attended West High's honor ceremony, and I did that again today. And it's so funny how different people choose to set up their different ceremonies, and I just have to say, there's something my kids hate it because I'm on the west side, guys, and I'm in between 2 north side people, but I really do like north. There is something about that community that is just very charming. So that was a really fun event to go to. And then as John said, we did have our board workshop on the 25th. I also had the district wellness meeting, which ended up being virtual that day on the 28th of April. That was our last meeting of this school year. We'll start again in the beginning of the new school year. And then on the 30th, we also had the community conversations. And then, like I said, today we had West High's honor ceremony. So it's been a lot going on, and that I didn't even touch on the stuff that my kids were doing. So it's good to be winding down. May always goes by so fast, and I'm ready for it to end. So
Well, not quite.
So I didn't attend my first school board meeting until I was in my 30s, but so I want to acknowledge there's what I think is the youngest school board attendee I've ever seen. And so, way to start that child young. Hope you enjoy the meeting. As far as the citizen statements, we don't generally substantively respond to anything in the moment. You know, we respond collectively through correspondence. But I just want to let you all know that the speakers tonight and everyone else, you know, that they represent. First of all, an incredible job of presenting organization, the thoughts and the issues you raise are it was very, very well presented. And as Tiffany mentioned, there are 2 board members up here that both graduated from North High, and then both chose to live in the North area and send our kids to North schools. And on behalf of the 2 of us, as well as all of us, I just want you to know everything you've said, you are heard. The message is taken to heart, and personally, I look forward to being a part of the response to what you have said, and to work better to do better and improve our community. We deserve it. I attended the workshop as well, which was really meaningful and helpful and enjoyable. This month, I attended several concerts, all in the North area, all of which were tremendous, including our last elementary school event, which somehow my wife got through without crying, at the strings concert at Belle Reve. And finally, I want to give this is sort of a personal anecdote, but it highlights part of the district, so bear with me. My daughter attended BizTown, which is part of the 5th grade curriculum. And for those not familiar, it's a little community that the kids sort of assume a job or role and then operate as a business for the day. And she was a CFO that day. And she came home and she was very, very excited about CFOing. Says, Dad, do you know any CFOs? I said, I know one, and she's great. So we're in the car. We called Carrie Nunn and said, listen, I've got someone, she's 10, but she's ready to be a chief financial officer. What can we do to stoke her ambition? She says, I got just the thing for you. And so Carrie was nice enough to bring my daughter to the Spark Entrepreneurial Strand presentation day, where she was able to see a bunch of Spark students, high school kids, talk about businesses they'd formed and how they went about it. And for a 10-year-old, it was just really eye-opening, because I think at the elementary school level, they don't necessarily know about all the programs they have in Parkway and all the things you can do that are different from just being in a classroom. And so I want to heartfelt thank you for allowing her to attend. And also, it was just great to see kids' eyes open to a whole world out there that's beyond sitting at a desk, and it was really, really cool. So thank you both.
Some of the other things not mentioned yet that I did attend was on April 17th. There was a combined meeting with Parkway, Pattonville, and the Special School District at the Special School District Learning Center to talk about legislative matters, and we had a number of legislators that did attend that. It was focused on a student panel that talked about their experiences utilizing special school district services, along with a counterpart, a teacher within SSD, to talk about their experiences. It was very heartwarming and just a wonderful breadth of the vast services that the special school district encompasses countywide here. So that was very well attended and received. On April 21st, we had a joint Parkway Rockwood Steering Committee meeting here that we invited the communities between Rockwood and Parkway to come to talk about state legislative matters as well. And Chris Gaines from Ed Plus was our keynote speaker leading the discussions on that. So it was very well attended. We had some new people that we normally don't have at those meetings. So it was eye-opening for some of these individuals to see and to hear about some of the legislative matters that are affecting both of our districts together. I also this morning attended the West High Honor Ceremony as well, which was a lovely event. It's always a lot of fun. And then I also did attend as a parent an end of the year choir performance. It was called Singer's Choice, where the students mainly chose all of the songs that they wanted to do, either as a choir or as solo. We've just got some talented students in this school district. It's amazing. I think what really gave me the goosebumps and a little teary-eyed moment was the joint choirs singing Bohemian Rhapsody. And they did a wonderful job. And they had the lights out, and they even did the flashlights and did the chin thing and swinging it and little dances. And so it was tremendous. So kudos to them and to their choir director, Carrie Fitzpatrick. So thank you.
Thank you. I won't reiterate many of the events that I also attended that have already been mentioned, but I will share on April 17th, we had a Student Services Subcommittee meeting that was focused mostly on student well-being. We got some data about referrals for discipline. We got some data about suspensions, principal suspensions. Both of those have been trending downward these last few years, and this year was significantly less than the preceding several years. Unfortunately and interestingly, harassment suspensions were up. So that's something that we're continuing to look at. But the fact that our discipline referrals are down and principal suspensions are down has been directly tied to the work of our social emotional behavioral specialists and our mental health specialists who've been doing some amazing work these last several years, helping regulate students in the classroom that would otherwise have challenges, in teaching teachers best practices on how to address things like that when they happen. So that's been a very positive effect. I do want to mention the community conversations. We did have to cancel the one at North area, which was mentioned. In the immediate response of that, we looked at the calendar and said there's no way we can do it before the end of school, and so we're just going to cancel it. And within hours after making that decision, we started second guessing things, and that's why we worked hard to find a date. Unfortunately, it is after school gets out, but I hope that we do an excellent job of communicating that to all of our families, and hopefully we have a good response and turnout like we did at the other areas of the district. We celebrated teachers last week, which was mentioned several times. We also celebrated nurses, so want to give a shout out to our nurses. And then lastly, one of the most exciting things, in addition to the graduations that we're about to begin tomorrow, last week, I think this was the fourth year we've done it, but for decades, we have celebrated athletes that have decided they want to go play baseball or they want to run track at a collegiate level, and they are officially signing with a school or college. So for the last 4 years, we have celebrated future educators. These are high school students that have decided they want to be a teacher. And it's an amazing program that our Spark strand focuses on education. But it's an amazing program that our folks have put together to celebrate those people who want to go into education. So in this room last week, we had 37 people, our highest number yet in the last 4 years, all lined up. It was standing room only, and all lined up around the room and walked across the stage and made a commitment to be an educator. And so it was a very touching evening. Each of them got to invite one or two people, educators mostly, that inspired them. We had people that reached out to our program director and said, I want my first grade teacher to be there because she meant the most to me through my schooling. And so it's a great event, and I can't wait to attend next year's. So, Melissa?
Well, there are so many events that were mentioned by all of you that I also have enjoyed so much. This is my first spring, obviously, in Parkway, but the graduation and the celebrations and the awards, all of those things shine a light on how proud I am to be at Parkway. I did have the opportunity, my parents came to visit me the weekend of the art show, and I had the opportunity to show off Parkway School District to my own parents as they were flabbergasted by just the work of students from very young, all the way 3 years old, all the way to 18 years old, and their collections of artwork and the progression of their skill set, and seeing the teachers there, board members there. And just droves of people coming in that door and out. I heard that it was upwards of 10,000 people had walked through those doors after the weekend was over. So that was just a highlight for me and my family. I also attended the West High Awards ceremony this morning. Again, beautiful ceremony, awesome talent in our educational community to celebrate teachers as well as students. I went to the Oasis Luncheon today, and the Oasis Luncheon is our group of organized senior citizen volunteers who serve in our schools to help kids with reading and writing and spend time just learning with them. And they really, some of them have been involved in our community for years, and I'd love to see the program grow. But it was my second time attending this luncheon. Last year I attended it shadowing Dr. Marty around, so it was neat to be with a group of people who I'd seen now 2 years in a row, and we really do appreciate the work that group does for Parkway in their volunteerism. I too was at the educator signing night, super special night. Again, these things that Parkway does at the end of the year are I need to bring a box of tissues next time, because that was a very, very special night to see all of the kids who want to go into teaching. How special is that? I will just talk about a couple other things here. I would like to mention too that as I've gotten to know the different employee groups in Parkway this past year, I just want to take a shout out to PNEA, because this past week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and I have really enjoyed getting to know PNEA plan to attend their association rep meeting tomorrow, I believe it is. And I appreciate all that that group is able to support in our school district, especially with the scholarships tonight that you saw. We love the kids together. We love serving them together. And last but not least, I did see West High Orchestra. I believe that may have been 2 weeks ago, and they did just a fabulous job. I really enjoyed seeing them play. Wish I could make it to more of the orchestras. I will in time, but that was one I was able to do just this past 2 weeks, and it was high talent. Very, very proud. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up is our consent agenda. We've all had an opportunity to review that over the last week or so, and let me ask, does anyone have any questions or anything that needs to be posed to administrators about any item on the consent agenda? Okay. May I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented in the May 13th, 2026 board meeting materials?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anything to be pulled to action or closed? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention with respect to 11.22.
Okay. Including the abstention, motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have a policy review. So I see Dr. Beckner is standing and ready to approach. So I'd like to invite him to join us. He is the, well, I will let you stay back there. He's the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching, Learning, and Accountability, and he is here. He does not need to come to the podium, but if any board member has a question about the policy review, I will bring him up. No? Okay. So the section I, which is curriculum and instruction policies, those will be up for a vote at our next regular scheduled board meeting in June. So next up, Kevin, are you leading this because your name's not first? So Kevin, I'll just let you.
Well, I just want to thank you for hearing yet another program evaluation for us, and thank you for the attention you give to these. And I want to thank Dr. Lukey, who's going to lead our presentation tonight, along with Sarah McMillan, who is our district reading specialist, for the thorough analysis they've done throughout this project. So now I'll turn it over to Dr. Lukey.
Good evening. Thank you, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Schneider, and Mrs. Stover for your time and attention tonight. I am sharing the results of our reading intervention program, and at the heart, this is Parkway's promise to ensure that all students become confident readers. We've spent the last year evaluating how we identify students' needs, how we teach, and most importantly, how we respond when students are struggling. I have the privilege of presenting this review, but it would not have been possible without the hard work and heart work of so many others. Our team consisted of Sarah McMillan, our district literacy specialist, our amazing team of reading specialists, and of course, Dr. Nathan Tyson and Dr. Kevin Becker. So I just want to give them a big thank you. A reading intervention program is a strong reading intervention program like ours is a structured system of support. It identifies student needs early and precisely, it delivers targeted and systematic instruction, and it monitors progress and adjusts instruction. The goal being to accelerate literacy development and close skill gaps. To understand where we are, I want to recap some numbers that I shared with you in the fall. In 2022, Missouri passed Senate Bill 681, which fundamentally changed how we support students with dyslexia and how we instruct in reading. In just a week, we conclude our second year of full implementation of Benchmark Advance, our curricular resource for ELA, and we conclude our first year of our essential standards, our learning intentions, and our success criteria. We currently have 31 talented reading specialists that serve across 19 elementary schools. And last year, we served 813 RSPs. Let's dive into a reading success plan just a little bit more. An RSP is a personalized roadmap for students' reading success. Our reading interventionists not only serve students who have an RSP, but they also provide intervention to students who need them. And this year alone, they provided direct services to almost 1,000 students. I do want to unpack our data for our reading success plans a little bit more. 813 is a large number of reading success plans. Currently, we have 609 in progress that are being serviced by our reading intervention specialists. 74 of those are being served by students' individualized support plans, either through their IEP or their 504. And already this year, we've had 74 students graduate from their RSP. That's a huge number, and more to come next week as we close cycle 4 of our intervention. A little review of our timeline. In the fall, we developed our topics. We met with our board subcommittee, and I presented our plan to you. In the winter, we created surveys, we collected data, and we gathered research. And during the spring, we gathered feedback and analyzed that research to prepare our findings and our recommendations to be shared here tonight. As I mentioned, this was a team effort. Our district literacy specialists, our reading specialists, and our principals made all this work possible. We utilized survey data, NWA results, RSP data, and research. Our review is comprehensive because it looked at many aspects of our program. We conducted research around the science of reading and best practices for intervention, and we received feedback from over 300 stakeholders. As a reminder, our program review focused on 4 different areas: program resources and alignment. Oops, I went one too far. There we go. Meaning how well our resources fit the individual needs of students and how well our resources support students as they progress through grade levels. We also studied the structure and adaptability of our program, wanting to ensure and see how responsive and flexible our program can be. We considered the scope and the professional development. Scope was really looking at if we are providing the appropriate amount of support for all pillars of literacy, and professional development, not only of our reading specialists, but also of our classroom teachers. And finally, we dove into our integration and systematic support. We want to ensure that reading intervention is playing an important role in a larger system and understand the integral part it plays in our MTSS system. Our work and our learning was grounded around the science of reading, and this isn't a trend. It's decades of research and how the brain actually learns to process language. We focused on structured literacy. That means we don't wait for kids to discover how to read through guessing. We teach it explicitly and systematically, starting with the smallest pieces and moving to more complex. Just to give you a little visual, Scarborough's rope provides provides us a picture of all the different things that go into reading. When we think of language comprehension, which is the top part of the rope, it includes background knowledge, vocabulary, verbal reasoning, and as students learn these strands, they become increasingly strategic. We also consider word recognition, and this includes hearing sounds, linking letters, recognizing familiar words, and as students become more proficient in this, it becomes increasingly automatic. And when you tie these two together, we create skilled readers. Our program focuses on all aspects of the reading rope. Our program is a structured approach, meaning that we provide explicit instruction. Teachers explain concepts clearly. We're systematic, that skills are taught in a logical order. And we focus on foundational skills, starting with individual sounds and moving into complex texts. When supporting foundational skills, we start with sounds and phonics, we move to decoding words, and then connecting this to texts. After foundational skills, we move to comprehension. We want to support our readers into making meaning from what they read. Reading intervention specialists and teachers provide strategy instruction, organizational structure, high-quality discussion between teachers and students, purposeful selection of the text, and engaging content. Supporting readers doesn't just happen at our early grades, it happens in our later grades as well. And when we're supporting older students, we want to make sure that we focus on transferring and applying these skills. We know that students need to be prepared for complex academic texts and ideas. We support students in purposely building their fluency, helping them determine the gist of what they're reading, and comprehension monitoring while they're reading. We didn't just look at our test scores, we listened to our community. We received survey responses from over 300 stakeholders, parents, teachers, and administrators. Their feedback was heartening. Parents told us that they've seen a transformative shift in their children's confidence. Teachers praised the specialists as immeasurable assets. And our strengths are clear. We're a high-quality staff with strong data practices and families who feel like true partners in this work. I want to highlight for you a few of our system strengths that came to light. We have strong foundational literacy, grounded in systematic data-driven practices. Our program has high-quality specialized staff and strong collaboration between interventionists and classroom teachers. Our effective small group and individualized instruction supports diverse learners. And our program has a positive impact on students' confidence, fluency, comprehension, and motivation. There's strong school and family partnerships and effective take-home supports. However, a good review also finds gaps. We've identified a need for flexibility in our scheduling and our staffing. Our materials need to be modernized to give students choice and increase engagement. We also want to increase transparency so parents know exactly where their child stands and how we can help them at home. Taking all of this into account, our data, our research, and our feedback, moving forward, we want to build on our literacy strengths. We want to prioritize equitable access to interventions, and we want to strengthen coherence across Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 systems in our schools. We're looking to increase family engagement and transparency, and we want to consider ways to be flexible with our staffing assignments and ensure professional learning for our intervention specialists as well as our classroom teachers. To address our gaps, we have 4 strategic goals. First, to ensure that students get targeted high-quality support immediately when a need is identified, we want to have adaptive support structures. We would like to have a mobile rapid response team, which would be a group of interventionists that we could deploy to a school when sudden shifts in needs arise. We want to ensure specialized training for all of those who support students, for example, our TAs, to be able to lead high-quality small group instruction. And we want to build a bridge between our interventionists and our classroom teachers to provide modeling and coaching that allows them to partner to refine reading strategies in the moment for students. We know that students benefit from personalized literacy experiences, and one of our strategic goals is evidence-based resources. We want to purchase decodable books that are engaging and supportive for all students, no matter their grade. We want to look into adaptive literacy software that adjusts in real time to a student's performance and provides immediate feedback. And we want to ensure skill transfer instead of just isolated practice by curating a library of high-interest books that challenge students to apply what they're learning with our interventionists to texts in their classroom. We know the power of professional development, and we want to provide more professional development to our interventionists as well as our classroom teachers. Our interventionists are wanting advanced training around language comprehension, word structures, and the reading processing skills and executive functioning. We'd like to expand our structured literacy training across the district with letters training and more information about strategies and structures teachers can use in their classroom. And finally, we know the importance of partnering with our administrators, and we want to train principals in building leaders to evaluate and support high-quality reading instruction at all tiers of instruction. We know that it takes a unified system for the success of all, and we want reading intervention to be part of that system. This summer at our curriculum boot camp, we have a group of reading specialists who will work to develop literacy learning intentions for each pillar of literacy as well as success criteria. We'd like to create cross-functional teams of experts within all of our interventionists and connect our reading interventionists, our math support specialists, our English, our EL teachers to work together rather than in silos. We're going to work to create a pre-vetted menu of interventions to provide teachers with a toolkit of proven strategies to support phonics and fluency and vocabulary so that they don't have to hunt for materials. And we'd like to provide more clear times for our reading interventionists to connect, to problem solve, and to collaborate. In short, we have a really strong foundation, and we're moving more towards a proactive rather than reactive system. We want predictable, expert-led path to reading success for every student in Parkway. Thank you for your time and your investment in our students' literacy. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Alexis. We really appreciate all the work that you and everyone in your department has done on this program evaluation. As you were talking, I was thinking about, 2008, 2009, when we made some unpopular cuts. And it's great to see how far we've come since then. But as you very well outlined, you have a lot of things that we really could benefit from. And I know you've got a lot of different steps here on your action plan, a lot of different categories. Just off the top of your head, what kind of timeline do you envision being able to accomplish many of these things or all of these things in your action plan? And have you begun the process of looking at the decoder books and the software and the different tools, the tangible things that you'll need, not to mention the training and what have you?
For sure. President Todd, that's a great question. Thank you so much. Some of the things we have plans for just in June. Like I said, curriculum boot camp, we'll be working on learning intentions, success criteria. I've already met with several vendors to talk about decodables. One of the ones we're mainly looking into low-level, high interest, because we have students at all grades who may need entry points. So I have a whole lineup of resources ready to go, but we know that some of that takes time with budgeting cycles. As far as professional development, Sarah McMillan, the district literacy specialist, and I have already outlined what next year is going to look like, not only for our reading specialists, but for teachers too. I'm really excited how that's going to happen. So some of these are going to roll out next year. Some are going to take longer because it's going to be really thinking through a system. So when we talk about that mobile response team, that's going to be working together with some other departments to think how we can make that happen. But I'm excited and anxious to do that. And I know that our team of reading interventionists are as well. So some soon, some maybe more like a year or two down the road to think logistics. And I'm super excited to see that happen.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the questions that I have on your slide that talks about the strategic goal as part of the recommendations, strategic goal under evidence-based resources.
Yeah.
The action plan and how it works. One of the things is to, on skill transfer resource, no, on, wait, maybe I'm in the wrong, I just read it. Something about you're using reading experts to work with the classroom teachers.
Yeah.
Where do those reading experts come from?
So
Who are you using?
our reading interventionists who are in each building.
So it's them.
Yes.
So
And
how
our
are they-
instructional coaches to work through
How
that
are they
modeling.
going to be able to do that while they're still working, because they're still working with the students, right?
So one of the glorious things about Tier 2 instruction when we're bringing all of our interventionists together is sometimes that happens in the classroom. And that side-by-side work with an interventionist and a teacher is that learning that can happen right next to each other, or that coaching. And that's one of the things I know not only supports the student, but supports the adults seeing each other's work in action. We've also worked together with building administrators who have provided release time for teachers to go into the intervention setting and see the work happening with students, and that translates to classrooms as well. So really just supporting through coaching and modeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Earlier this year, we had an expert, Ed Martinson, come and provide a whole day of professional development for our instructional coaches and all of our reading specialists side by side. He's coming back, I think, 6 times next year to do that training in buildings, all about structured literacy. So finding different ways to weave that in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've got a daughter who graduated from a reading success plan, so this is, you know, to heart for me, but I do have a question. So with your numbers, currently we've got about 609 in progress and 31 reading interventionists. Do we have any data on whether that 2 to 1 or 20 to 1, excuse me, is a good number? What kind of data do we have on that?
Yeah, so student data and student need really drives our staffing and drives our support within each cycle. Currently, our interventions in 4 different cycles, so that we're monitoring what students need. If they need a tier 3, which would be more of a pullout and in with the interventionist, or if they need a tier 2, which may be the interventionist pushing in or the teacher providing that tier 2. So we're constantly moving students and we're constantly using data. NWA data is what drives currently our RSPs if a student flags. And then we're looking at different buildings might be looking at end of unit results or different common formative assessments. So constantly analyzing, and like I said, we meet 4 times a year to say, like, is this the right level of support? Because that's the other thing, is we want to make sure that we're providing that exact right level of support. And when students are ready, that we're giving them the opportunity to grow. Thank you.
You talked about the rapid response team, kind of building those out. So how would those work? Like, how do you see that being a good tool?
That's a great question. So how I envision it in my
Yeah,
mind, so I would envision, instead of those reading interventionists being building based, it's possibly more of a district based, and that we look at those data every cycle and we decide, where is this need? We know that often at the beginning of the year, there may be an influx of students in a building that we didn't account for. And so we'd want to be able to deploy that team to go support. I think it's important, though, that staff know and where they're going to be working. And so that they would need to know that this is a flexible. Every 6 weeks, this could change based on data. And I think it's really important that our reading interventionists are in buildings making those relationships with students. So I don't think that should be all reading interventionists, but a subset.
Got it. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Next up, I'd like to invite Carrie Nunn, our CFO, and Don Trokey, Executive Director of Finance, to begin the work session on our budget.
Good evening. So we always start with the mission because our budget should support our mission. And so our mission is to ensure all students are capable, curious, caring, and confident learners who understand and respond to the challenges of an ever-changing world. And underneath supporting our mission is our strategic plan. And so in our strategic plan, we have our vision of a learner, and we have 3 strands. And the one that we focus the most on with our budget is the allocation of resources for student success. So this is the timeline of our budget process. It starts well in advance of tonight and this presentation. We start developing our budget assumptions in November. So in November of 2025, we began doing that work and creating those assumptions. And then normally we actually present those assumptions to you in December. This year we did it in January because we had our budget task force doing their work, and we wanted to honor that work and let them complete that so that we could take those considerations into our planning and our prep for the assumptions that we were making for the 2027 fiscal year. So, and then once we had those assumptions presented, we then started putting together the budget. So our departments, our buildings, they started working through their numbers that their budget would then support their goals for their building and their departments, that all aligned underneath a strategic plan and our vision. And then once they had that gathered, they handed it off to me and finance, Don Trokey, as we put those numbers together so we could prepare this presentation for tonight, which is where we are tonight in May to present the preliminary budget. And then as long as you are okay with all of this, the information that we present tonight, we'll then begin building that budget book and bring the final result back to you guys with the final budget in June. So this is going back to the fact that all of our numbers it's a team effort. It's not just one office making these decisions. Our team, there's lots of stakeholder input. We collect data from lots of different stakeholders, lots of different departments, and we build this puzzle together. It truly is a team effort. So as many of you know, this is my favorite chart. It's my favorite chart because it tells the Parkway story. It shows how we had our fund balance do a significant deep dive and really hit kind of rock bottom in 2012. And then the long story and the long hard work that it took to build that fund balance back. And that fund balance percentage is represented in the line, the green line. This chart also shows you our expenses and our revenue each year. And that green line, it took 3 years for that fund balance to just go completely sink. And then it took almost 12 years to build it back to where we didn't have to take tax anticipation notes anymore. And so our last tax anticipation note that we had to take was in 2021. And since then, we have built a very healthy fund balance, which is what is helping us weather the current financial storm that we're in with our rising expenses in our healthcare, in our essentials, and is going to help us weather finishing our current year where we are budgeting a slight deficit and into our next year where we also have a slight deficit. And as we've been talking in our community engagements and with you, that is not a long-term strategy, but it will see us through for the next fiscal year. So let's talk about our revenue and where our funding comes from. So the majority of our funding does come from our residential residential and property taxes. And as just a reminder, we are ranked second lowest in St. Louis County for residential tax rates. So that is great. We have a great economic strength and strong assessed value in our community. And we do have, in 2025, we did have a voluntary rollback, and the board did reset that rate back in February. So that will be included. We will be able to include that in our 2026 tax bill that we calculate later this fall. And even adding in that voluntary rollback back into our tax rate, we would still remain the second lowest in residential tax rates in St. Louis County. So this represents, this pie chart, where all of our operating revenue comes from. And just a reminder for us who have been having those budget talks, and our buckets are, right? Our operating bucket is the bucket where all of our reoccurring expenses come out of. So these are our salaries, our benefits, our supplies, our materials, things that are reoccurring and that we have to have every single year. So this operating revenue supports those expenses when we get to them later. So we have 5 sources of revenue funding, and you'll see that they primarily, our largest one comes from local, and that represents over 91% of the funding that we receive here at Parkway. So again, anytime there is legislation that happens in the state of Missouri, it significantly impacts our bottom line in regards to funding. And then our next largest source of funding is the state at just a little over 5%. The next is federal at 1.8%, county at 1.3%, and then we have a very small, barely just above 0 funding in other of 0.26%. So if we dive down a little deeper into what that local breakout is, which represents over 91% of our funding, you'll find that 81% of that is our property taxes. So that's what our residents, our commercial, our personal property, agricultural is paying. Our next largest one in there is our Prop C. That's sales tax that the state gives to us, representing that 1% that they give back to school districts based on our ADA. And then we have another bucket of other that represents about 10% of that overall local breakout, which has a bunch of little small things that are supported in there from different programs. So let's talk specifically about our largest revenue source, which is that personal property tax. How do we get that personal property tax? Well, it starts off with an assessed valuation. So all of our parcels in our area are assessed. Then we also get new construction. So there are new things being built, residential, commercial, and we get that assessed value as well. And then we also have to take into consideration our collection rate, because even though we have this great number for assessed values, not everybody is going to possibly pay their taxes on time. So there is a collection rate where we don't get to collect 100% of what we levy in our taxes. And then we also, if we get the right reports to be able to calculate it, we also have the potential to do what's called recoupment. So that's when there's a settlement between a piece of property and St. Louis County, and they say, hey, I think you assessed my value at the wrong amount. So they protest that. And then once that is settled, then we have the ability, especially if it is not, especially if the property owner won it, that we can go back and do recoupment, because we based our taxes on one assessed value, but it ended up being a different assessed value. So they let us go back and recoup what we would have been able to levy if we would have had the right assessed value at that time. And then lastly, it all filters through what we call the CPI, or the cost price index, which the cost price index is basically a measurement of inflation. And we are capped at CPI, or 5%, whichever is lowest. That's based on the Hancock Amendment. And then once it goes through all of those filters and comes out the bottom, that's the revenue that we get from property taxes. So these are really small charts, but they are all the components that make up our property taxes and are a portion of that funnel that we just saw on the previous slide. So the first one is our assessed value, and you'll see that over the last 10 years, our assessed value has been going up. And we always, and then the other line shows like how we budget it. So we're always fairly close on what we budget and then what we actually get to collect. The next one is our collection rate. Our collection rate historically has been around 97%, but currently we are reducing that collection rate because this is the only way from a budgeting perspective we can capture the senior tax freeze on our assessed value properties, because we have to account and have to include the full assessed value in our calculations, but we don't get the ability to collect the full amount from those pieces of property. So we have to account for them some way. So since we don't have the ability to collect it, we're reducing our collection rate. So that's how we can keep track of our rising assessed value, but knowing that we don't get to collect on that full a rising assessed value amount. The next one is our CPI. As I mentioned earlier, that is a cost price index, and it is one measurement of inflation. And so you can see definitely during right after COVID, we had some significant increases in fluctuation in our CPI, and it is leveled off. And last year we had a CPI of 2.9. In a non-reassessment year, we budget for a CPI of 0.5, so that way because our property won't be assessed, so the only growth that we would have in our property would be related to new construction. And so we are always capped at what CPI is because of the Hancock Amendment that's been in place since 1980s. And then the last one is our new construction. So you'll see we had some significant increase in construction in 2022, specifically related to personal property, and that was mostly around vehicles. And since then, it's stabilized, and we're seeing closer to our historic averages, or even a little bit higher. And we see that our personal property values are actually going down. And so we conservatively always budget about 20 million in new construction when we are going through the budgeting cycle. All right, so that brings us to what is our total revenue estimates for FY25. Whoa, went back 2 years, guys. FY27, or fiscal year 27, which covers the 26-27 school year. And this represents all of our funds. So every single line on there, as you'll remember, it represents a bucket. So each one of those is a bucket, and you'll see overall we're going to see an overall decrease of 6.32%. This doesn't alarm me because Most of this is related to the fact that we had a issuance last year, a bond issuance it was of 75 million. Yeah, of 75, no, it was 100 million. This year's 75 million, of 100 million last year. And so that's a one-time revenue influx that you get. And then once you get that, you slowly spend it down on the capital projects. And we're estimating that we may need to do the third issuance in the spring of 2027. And that's that last line representing that $75 million. So that will be a one-time issuance again. So that those are one-time revenue influxes into our budget, and so that's why you're going to see that decrease there. So now I'll hand it over to Dawn. Sorry, Dawn. Let me move on my notes so you can put your notes down.
So we're going to jump into federal programs. So federal grants are done on a reimbursement basis. So that means we get allocated an amount, we spend that amount, and then we ask for payment back for that. So because of that, for federal programs, revenues and expenses will always be equal. They'll be the same amount, and that's why. So, oops. Next, we're going to talk about the approved changes that are built into the FY27 budget, and that is food service. We're going to have an increase in meal prices. That was actually in the consent agenda for tonight's meeting that was approved earlier. But lunch and breakfast both are going to go up by 10 cents. Breakfast is going to be $2.65 for a full meal, and lunch is going to be $3.70 for a full meal. The reduced meal prices are dictated by DESE, so we just wait and see what they tell us it needs to be each year. The other change is in ECC tuition. There's going to be an increase in the various programs within ECC, and those increases were approved at the November 13th board meeting for this year. So those are the only changes that we know of for that. So now we're going to talk about expenditures. So this is our dollar bill that everyone is used to seeing every year. This represents our operating expenses, our operating budget for expenses. So this is, like Carrie was saying, it's our salaries, our benefits, our purchase service, and our supplies. And that's what this represents. And as you can see, salaries take up 59% of our operating expense budget, and benefits take up 24%. Totaling 83%. So we are definitely a people business. That's where most of our money is spent. And this is common for all public school districts. It's not unique to Parkway. The other ones make up 16.99%, and that's purchase service and supplies. So that's the breakdown of our operating expenses. Then we're going to jump into enrollment. So this graph shows enrollment for many years there, starting in 2016. You'll see that in 2026, our enrollment was 16,116. Now in 27, we are estimating an enrollment of 16,050, which is a small decrease of 66. You can see in this chart that it continues going down very slowly, but it does go down. There could be many reasons for this. Some of the factors are that we are discontinuing the VST program that we're a part of. So those students, we're not getting new students through that. And declining birth rates could be one of the reasons that we're not getting more enrollment as well. This is just a breakdown of enrollment, fall enrollment. It shows the fall of 25 and the estimated fall of 26. By grade level. So that's just some interesting data on that slide. So next we're going to talk staffing. So in the FY27 budget, we removed 2 FTEs, and they were the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning and the Executive Director of Operations. We added 4 new FTEs, which are listed up there: Chief Operations Officer, Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Executive Director of Secondary, and Executive Director of Elementary. Enrollment, that is how we, as always, we use enrollment to decide how many teachers we need at the buildings. And HR works with the buildings to assess their needs and any needed hiring that they need. On the operations side, strategic operations staff. So throughout the year, each department will evaluate their FTEs and they work with HR to combine or split jobs that create either no cost or a cost savings. This happens a lot when you get a new director or a new executive director. They want to move things around and create a different plan. So you will see that all throughout the year. Salary increases, we have 3 bargaining units. We have PNEA for teachers and PNA for nurses and PUMA for maintenance staff. And their raises were decided through their negotiations. We also have support staff, and we did the support staff compensation study this year. It was finished this year, and those changes will take place in FY27. And then administrative raises historically have matched PNEA raises as well. So let's talk about our staffing here. This is a breakdown of all of our FTEs, and it's done by department. On the far right, you'll see the difference between the budget of FY27 and the actual of FY26, and that total difference is 78. That 78 represents the total budgeted vacancies and the new FTEs that I just discussed in that previous slide. So that's what that represents. You will only see vacant FTEs in our budget numbers. You'll never see them in actual. Actual is what's actually filled. Sorry. All right. So our salary increases. This chart shows our different employee groups, our teachers, nurses, PUMA, support staff, and admin, and the different raises that they have had throughout the last few years and what they're having in the future that we know of. So teachers, we just did negotiations with PNEA this year. So next year they'll start their first year, and their increase is 4.41%. Nurses have a 0% increase. In their last negotiation, they voted to have a 0 increase in FY27. This is the last year of their current contract, so they'll be renegotiating come next year as well. PUMA is 3%, and support staff is also 3%. And admin reflects the teachers at 4.41%. The asterisks behind PUMA and support staff for FY27, that represents the fact that those percentages could fluctuate depending on the outcome of the support staff compensation study. So depending on what happened to those folks in those areas, those percentages could be a little different. So let's talk about benefits that we have here in the district. It's not only just health and dental and vision and life, but we'll talk about that first. So the first quarter of our 2026 plan year, which is January, February, and March, the outcomes were what we were anticipating, which is good news. So with that, our March fund balance is now $7.2 million. However, we still have a ways to go. Our 25% reserve goal is $13.5 million. So we still have a shortfall to get to that reserve of about $6.3 million. So because of that, we in the FY27 budget, we included a $3 million transfer from operating to self-funded if it's needed. It's there if we need it. We have already started working with the Benefits Advisory Committee. We've already met this year to discuss plan year 2027 and what that looks like. So right now, the preliminary premium increase discussed at that meeting was 6.4%. And that means that staff will take 1/3 of that cost and district will take on I'm sorry, did I say that backwards? Staff will take 1/3, district will take 2/3 of that cost. And continuing research for affordability. We are members of the Gateway Business Health Coalition, and so we work with them trying to find different ways there's always new benefit options out there, so we're researching with them to see if there are any that would help us have some cost saving, as well as working with our MMA, who is our our broker, our insurance broker. So we're continuing to look to find better ways. Here's some other benefits. We continue to have CARE ATC in the FY27 year. Our wellness program is amazing, and we have outreach for employees, outreach and education, and we also have multiple programs that we buy through United Healthcare to help our employees with whatever areas they need. And of course, retirement, Missouri retirement is phenomenal, and that's PSRS peers. So the amount we expense for that will all depend on the salaries that people have. However, their percentages have not increased or decreased again this year. So PSRS is still at 14.5% and peers is 6.86%. That has not changed. All right.
Thank you. Okay. So overall, that brings us to our goal going into this year was we knew that our historic average of increase in expenses was 4%. So the goal was to stay at or below that as we were going through this process. So that way our expenses didn't exceed our historic, which is difficult to do because we are experiencing some inflation in some of our supplies and materials. So we took, so through that we were able to, in the salary section, we did raise, we'll see a difference from FY26 to FY27 of $7.8 million. 1.5 of that will be used to support the support staff comp study. The others is supporting the raises that Dawn mentioned before in the chart. The benefits will increase by 4.5. 3 million of that represents the one-time transfer that we could potentially have if we need it later in the year. And then the other portion of it is representing a benefit increase on the district side, as well as there's going to be natural increases as raises increase. That also affects the PSRS peers calculation, so that we have to support that portion of our contribution for each employee. Next, we did have a small increase in our purchase services of $249,000, and our big win was through having some targeted zero-based budgeting meetings with departments. We were able to cut $4 million from the budget, so that's over a 16% reduction to our supplies and services, and that was a really big effort. Again, when I'm talking about it being a team effort, that was departments willing to say, this is what I need, this is what I don't need. I can this will harm, this will not harm, and be able to make those trims and those cuts, which leads us to a total overall expense budget for FY27 of $292 million. So lining that up with our expenses and our revenue. So again, this represents this chart is our summary of our overall fund balance. So each column, if you think about our buckets that we talk about, each column represents its own bucket. So we're going to focus on the first column, which again is our operating funds, which is where our reoccurring expenses happen. And you'll see that our total revenue for the year is $292,016,738, whereas our expenditures are $292,179,074, which gives us to a slight deficit budget of $162,000, which will then have us end our year at a 50.99% fund balance. So again, we do have a healthy fund balance, and so we believe that our fund balance can support this slight deficit budget, but we know that just like we saw in that very first chart, and we'll see right here, that a fund balance can go down very, very fast. And so you have to be strategic and careful about it. And so that's why it's not a long-term solution, which is something we were aware of. And again, why we established the budget task force, and you guys are taking their recommendations into consideration, and we are doing those community outreaches, and we're having those community event nights, and we really highly encourage attendance at our next one in May, and really want to hear those voices and those stakeholders' input. But this is a chart that shows that keeping things at status quo will cause us to drop our fund balance significantly, and by fiscal year FY30, we will be below our recommended 40% fund balance, which would then
trigger us to have to do tax anticipation notes or look at some serious budget reductions or cost containment. So next I want to move into from our operating bucket over to our capital bucket. So we do have multiple capital buckets, one being our bond bucket. So we are continuing doing our Prop S22 projects. We will potentially have a third issuance of our Prop S funds, our third and final issuance of $75 million to support those projects as they are being constructed throughout the year. And again, remember, our capital buckets can in no way form help our operating buckets. These are separate and distinct. Their funding and their expenses are unique from the operating, and they do not cross, and they cannot support each, and the capital buckets cannot support our operating fund. So we also are seeing that we're continuing our Facilities 2050 work through our steering committee with Dr. Schneider, and we are going through and having a demographic report that will be complete later this year, as well as a facilities assessment. Then we also have some non-bond projects planned for this upcoming year as well. We do have a healthy capital bucket right now, and so there's some initiatives that we took to do some replenishment and putting in some cycles, so that way we don't wait for something to break. We actually use it for its useful life and then replace it. So we are going to see in the non-Prop S bucket, or non-bond capital projects, we're going to see some asphalt and sidewalk improvements this year. We're also going to see some playground resurfacing. We're going to continue our asbestos and abatement. We're also going to be purchasing 12 new buses. There's also some white fleet updates that need to happen, and we are in desperate need of a new fuel truck. So we'll also be buying a new fuel truck this year for transportation to fuel the buses. Then we also have our next bucket, which is our debt service bucket. So this is has its unique funding source. It represents 49 cents of our tax levy. And this is when we receive these funds, this is how we pay for our debt. And we pay those debts out of that bucket. What really supports this bucket is the fact that we have a AAA bond. We are physically responsible, and we highly covet and are thankful for this. There's only 4 schools in the entire state that have this rating, and we are one of them. And because of that rating and our high assessed evaluation, we are able to have access to lower interest rates on our debt, which also supports the payments that are going out. All right. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead. Carrie, can you go on back to your staffing slide? My question has to do with there's just a +1 on ECC staffing. But we just purchased.
Yeah, she's got it. There's a +1.
We have a new ECC. So how do we only have 1 additional staff?
Yes. You have the notes. Would you like to bring them up here? Sorry, Dawn worked with HR today on this.
So the ECC, you're going to see that in the certified teachers, that 8.5. So that 8.5 increase, that includes 13 TA vacancies and then 3.5 ECC teachers, among others.
So then under the ECC line, those would be non-certified positions.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Matt?
I would say, I was going to ask you what gives you heartburn looking at next year, but what gives you the most heartburn looking at next year's budget?
Always, I'm never comfortable, even with the small amount of a deficit spending. But I also know that that is not our long-term strategy. We know that we can't support any, deficit spending for very long. And so I think my biggest heartburn is seeing that. But I was also very encouraged by our departments and our leaders and our leaders in our district that understood what we were going through and were able to do that over $4 million cut to their budgets. Really just sitting, they literally were sitting in rooms with me, letting me go line by line down their budget, saying, "Do you really need this? Do you really need this? Do you really need this?" And you know, they had to really dig deep and be like, "Do I? Maybe not, maybe yes," and like do some back and back good conversation. So that was very encouraging to me, that we can do, you know, like, we want to protect the classrooms, we want to protect the student experience. So they were really very willing to dig into their budgets and make those cuts. And again, I think, yeah, heartburn would be, even seeing a small deficit spending always gives me heartburn, because, you know, there's always going to be those things that you don't anticipate and that no one can, because if we had crystal balls, we'd probably all have won the lottery already, and I'd be a lady who lunches. And so yeah, so I guess that.
I just want to say thank you, both of you, and everyone in your department, for the work you've done to get the reductions that we've had last year and this year, and what you're going into next year, without affecting classrooms. We've talked about it through lots of meetings in the past 6 months, especially, that, you know, we don't want it to impact kids in classrooms. So thank you for all the work you've done to get us to this point.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Next up, we get to hear from Dr. Bogus, who isn't at the podium that often. So he's a welcome sight up here. And we're not talking about next year's calendar.
No,
We're talking
the year
about
after.
The year after.
First of all, good evening, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Schneider, Ms. Stover. I do want to highlight that the number of people in the room that stayed, whether by accident or by design, this is the largest crowd I've had for a calendar conversation, so thank you. Big button. So the district calendar committee is comprised of teachers and administrators from all levels, including the communications department, human resources, teaching, learning, and accountability, student services, athletics, and activities. We are 25 members strong, and I'm honored to present our work to you tonight. Many of you have asked over the years, what is the journey to make a calendar? And so tonight, I'm going to share that. So last November, we had the calendar committee start, and we talked about our hopes and dreams for the calendar for 27-28. That meeting lasted a very long time as we spent time digging into those hopes and dreams. Then we paused because this year we had teacher negotiations, and so we wanted to wait through teacher negotiations to bring that group back together, not knowing if some of the negotiation topics would affect the calendar. And so April 1st, a smaller task force was brought together to analyze those hopes and dreams and put together that first draft version of the 27-28 calendar. Thorough discussions and edits happened after that before a final version was brought forth through a vetting process that we use with IBB. So a thumbs up, a thumbs sideways, thumbs down. I'm thrilled that everyone had a thumbs up to the presentation in the calendar that I'm presenting tonight to you. Before we begin, I do want to highlight a Missouri State statute that affects us for our calendar, and that is 171.031, and it reads, each local school district may set its opening date each year, which date shall be no earlier than 14 calendar days prior to the first Monday in September. That really puts a handcuff on us as we put together our calendar, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And so I spent time just looking at all the things we accomplished, and so I want to highlight them. And so this slide is a little messy, but I'm going to talk through each one of them. To begin with, this proposal meets the PNEA agreement of 191 teacher workdays. It also has 174 student contact days. Our scheduled academic hours are 1,080, which is over the state minimum of 1,044 hours. Per DESI guidelines, hours of snow makeup time must be built into the calendar, and we've done that. Since 2021, the district has communicated to staff and our community about the fact that if we have to take traditional snow days, the first 3 would be non-working days for students and for staff. Allow for them to spend time with their families and decompress. After that, if we need to take additional days, we utilize our AMI plan, our alternative method of instruction, to conduct virtual learning. We are allowed to spend 36 hours towards virtual learning. Also, you'll notice on this slide, we have high school finals before winter break. We will continue to have half-day schedules. We'll have a fall break, and school will start on a Tuesday with students. You will notice that the approved records days for teachers are also on here. Teachers get a half day of records first and third quarter, and a day and a half at the end of each semester, which is quarters 2 and 4. Teachers shared through a PNEA survey that they wanted more time at the beginning of the year to set up their classrooms, and you will notice that we have 2 teacher work days added, Friday, August 13th, and Monday, August 23rd. Teachers will report to their assigned locations during that time and have self-directed work in their building. As a result, the first day of school will be Tuesday, August 24th. School will be in session on April 14th, which is Good Friday. For those of you aware, this is the first year we've had school on Good Friday in Parkway in over a decade. We were nervous about our attendance for both students and staff, but it was much higher than we anticipated. While we recognized the potential concern of staff absences, we worked with Kelly Services to secure subs that we didn't need. Finally, on this slide, you will see that we have added a no school day for students and teachers on April 24th. This is where the state statute comes into play. First quarter will have 43 days. Second quarter will have 38 days for a semester, first semester having 81 days. Third quarter will have 50 days. Fourth quarter will have 43 days, with second semester being 93, with a total of the 174. Ironically, this is the exact same numbers for the upcoming school year of 27-28, or 26-27. The committee decided that with the benefit of having high school finals before winter break, plus the window of standardized testing being second semester, this was an ideal win-win for both students and staff. Another thing I want to highlight is a concern that was noted by parents and by staff with regards to Election Day. We will continue to have no school on election days, which are both November 2nd and April 4th. Main concern here is the amount of schools that are utilized for election voting and the number of people that come in and out of our buildings that day. As a result, both days will mirror each other as full professional development days for staff with no students in session. Linked to the November 2nd day, for no school on November 1st, which will be our fall break. Another question that I'm asked often is, why are we different than other school districts regarding our school calendar? Professional development. Parkway believes in the use of professional development throughout the year in the form of half days and full days. You'll notice on the screen, within this system, Parkway has 7 half days throughout the year, plus 4 full days of development. Our half days are noted on Wednesdays, except for 2. January 13th and February 17th are on Thursdays to link to the respected holidays. January 13th to Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend, and February 17th to President's Day. For employees, there's a second page that's located on Inside Parkway called Important Dates for Teachers. To assist staff there are two links at the bottom of the page. The first one directs them to the 27-28 calendar for their working calendar separated by classification. It outlines contracted workdays, contracted paid holidays, and non-paid workdays. The second link is for the 27-28 professional development calendar that's located on the talent development webpage. At the bottom, there is also a box that highlights the religious observances by the district with no events, testing, projects due on that day. I do want to say thank you. There are two people in the room that serve on this calendar committee. If you would just raise your hand to be recognized. Your work is highly valued, and I appreciate the work that we do together to put together this calendar for you. And so I will say, if there's any questions, I'd love to answer. Mr.
So I'm
Salter.
racking my brain for April 24th, 2028. All I can come up with
Yeah,
is it's
me
National
too.
Pigs in a Blanket Day.
Okay.
So good thinking there. And also World Day for Laboratory Animals.
I don't have those on the calendar.
So why are we off school?
On the 24th?
Yeah.
So, will somebody walk since I'm not there to do this?
And
So-
believe me, I'll have some pigs and blankets.
So with the contracted 191 days for staff, we looked at the fact that if we were to not use a day in that second semester, we would just end a day early over the end of the year. Last year was the first year we've not had a day off between spring break and the end of the year, and it was noted by both teachers and principals regarding the hard length of time between the end of spring break to the end of the year. And so we were able to put in a day and have no cost to the calendar. And so it was decided by the committee we wanted to go back to that.
So it's just a day.
Just a day off that's non-paid for staff, and then students are not in session.
Well,
Wait.
if I could jump on that, if our third quarter is gonna be 50 days and our fourth quarter is gonna be 43 days, why wouldn't we grab one of those days out of the third quarter?
So
Did
the
you hear
struggle
about
with
the
that
big
is that we start to look at standardized testing windows and graduation and the seniors leaving. And so a lot of those were put in play, especially from the teachers on the committee at each level. They came to the conversation with their own lens. And so our high school teachers really started talking about the preparation for end of the year, the conversation regarding each trimester or each quarter at each level, more so in the secondary than the elementary. But it was a long conversation that we had regarding when should that day be, and it was eventually decided on the 24th.
I'm also wondering about the fall break taking place at the beginning of November instead of in October.
It mirrors what you're going to experience this year in the this year calendar for 26, 27. And so one of the things we learned in talking as a committee, we wanted to mirror the current year calendar, the 25, 26, which has a lot of benefits, one of which being the first time we've had finals before winter break. Next year's calendar, we moved fall break to be able to be in conjunction with the election day to allow for parents to be able to take it as a longer weekend if they so choose, because that would be a day off for students for both that Monday and Tuesday. And so kind of feedback from parents also helped us come to that conclusion.
I will say thank you for keeping finals before winter break. That was a popular change this year, so.
Going back to April 24th.
Yeah.
Did you say that that was no pay?
So, well, it's not a contracted day. We have 191 contracted days. That's spread out every 2 weeks on a paycheck. So it's not that people have a day less pay. It's just we have a cycle of 191 days for teachers that are paid then every 2 weeks, which is similar to every other employee in the district. And so it's just spread out over the course of that. Again, it would go back if we would never go to 192 days because our agreement with the teachers union is we only have 191 teacher contract days. And so it's that sense of where do we spend that day? Do we end a day earlier Or do we utilize it? From what feedback we're getting from both staff and parents is that it's a long journey from the end of spring break to the conclusion of the year. Again, this is the first year we've not had that in our system. Everywhere else we've had it as our Good Friday has been off of school. And so looking at that and listening to the teachers, it was definitely felt as we make this journey to the end of our semester next week. I think it was felt by students and teachers as this is something we want to relook at. And so it doesn't come at a cost other than it's a day off of school, which I understand. But for the district, it's where do we spend that day? We wouldn't want to do it in first semester because it's too short. And so that's, again, the thorough conversation we had was trying to figure out what was the appropriate day to utilize for that off day.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Let's talk about April 24th.
Okay. No one's going to stay any longer, but
Thank you very much. Mike.
yep.
All right, we have nothing else on our agenda tonight, so may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all for attending. You are viewing remotely.